Hello, this is Stacy from Truly Majestic. Today we are going to make that shine firework stone. And to do that, I am using a stick and I've dipped it in an acrylic paint. This is just a little bit watered down because the paint I had was very thick and it wouldn't make these nice lines. So I made it a bit more drippy with some water, and now I'm just dipping. This is a bamboo skewer, guys. This is nothing special. You can use a skewer or a stick. A pencil works really great, or anything else that's sharp and pointy. So I'm just dipping it in my paint and then starting at one point and pulling it down. I've already put a black area in my stone, and I'm just making those firework bursts go out of the black a bit to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to be going around with red, and then I'm going to be changing colors to orange and then yellow and then down to a center. So these are not perfect swipes. They are a little bit sloppy, but I think that makes them look even more interesting. So I am going to be dipping it in orange now and very, very carefully putting it in between my red and my orange. Now my red is still wet, and this is a potentially disastrous thing to do because if you touch an orange onto a red swipe, it kind of makes it look really terrible and all the paint smushed together, and then you have a disaster. So one thing you could do is just simply wait for one color to dry and then move on to the next color, or you can be super careful like I am trying to be and just swipe down all across till you get to the end. And we're going to be continuing on this pattern kind of using swipes in between swipes to do the different colors all the way down till we get to the center point. Okay, now for a little tip, make sure your paints are the right consistency or you have this problem. See, this is not drippy enough, and because I didn't mix the paint up well enough with the water, you can see I have kind of a blob in it and it doesn't look nice, but it dries okay and it didn't look too bad after it dries. But if you want to avoid that and have a really beautiful paint consistency, it's best to mix. Really make sure your paints are mixed up well if you need to water them down. So I decided to use a different yellow. The other yellow I had mixed up properly, and you can see I don't have that ugly blobby problem with this one. Carrying on, after I finish my yellows, I'm just dotting white on to the center, and because I want to kind of make it look a bit starry and interesting, I'm going to put little teeny tiny white dots around the center and then also out around through the rest of my swipes. So again, the best thing to do would be to let this completely dry before you do this, or else you risk mushing the paints together and having them stick together. But I'm going to be very careful, and my paint is still wet, and even though I did touch on some other wet paints, it still turned out okay. But if you want to be really perfect about this and you don't want any disasters with your stone and you're not time pressed like I was, I didn't have time to let it dry, then you could just let the paint dry and dot along. moving on again. This is how it looks after we put those little white kind of specklies around here and there. And next, let your stone dry completely. I left it in the sun for a few hours. A hair dryer works really great as long as your swipes aren't too drippy so you don't end up blowing them out. So I'm using a wire again. Not again, I'm using a wire. I've used wires in other tutorials. So this is just a plain wire, like a paper clip that's been unwound. And I'm dipping it in white, and I want to go over each and every single swipe that I've made. So over the top of all my reds, yellows, and orange, I just take a little teeny tiny line of white and put it to the side, off to one side of the swipe. And this really helps it get that 3D look, because at the moment it looks quite flat. It's pretty with all the little dots, but it's flat. So once I get all of these on, it gives it a much more interesting kind of 3D bounce to it. Okay, we're almost there now. So I'm just going to take my wire again and dip it in some yellow, and I'm just putting a little tiny bit of yellow on just some of those white dots, again to give it a little bit of a 3D look. Anytime you're doing things with paints, if you can have different shades one on top of the other, it always gives it some depth. So you can see up close, my swipes of white are not perfect at all on these little swipey swoops of color, but it really looks interesting now, and you don't have to be perfect because these kind of swipes really look good no matter what you do to them. That's why they're so perfect for beginners. So this is what it looks like, and we're going to be adding the word shine onto it, and very simple, just form your letters with your wire dipped in paint, and then we're all finished. Thanks so much for joining me on this tutorial how to make this shine stone. I hope you guys have fun making your own, and I would love to see your stones, and I'll put a link in the description to a Facebook post that you can upload your pictures to and show me how they look. By the way, if you don't want me to show them off to other audiences that I have and say how pretty your stones are, please let me know in the comments. Just say, this is what I did, but please don't share it anywhere else. And I won't, because I love sharing other people's beautiful art off anywhere I can. And as far as I see it, it's a nice little community for us to show each other things and learn and see pretty things and be inspired. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe, please share this video if you've enjoyed it, and I would love to see your guys' creations. Thanks so much for your time, and have an awesome, shiny day.